Hi, I'm Marion Akers, Director of Communications with Equus Workforce Solutions. We're here at NOB The Forum 2023 at Live at the Forum. I'm so excited to be joined this morning by Ann Werbach, Strategic Partnership Director at InsideTrack. Welcome to the forum, Ann.
Thank you, Marion.
I think this might be our first forum for both of us.
It is.
How's the experience
Happy
been?
first.
Happy first. I know you had some travel delays, but how's the forum been so far?
Oh, it's been wonderful. It's been so great to connect with so many people that I've only met via Zoom before, and to be together and collaborate and talk about how we can all further our missions.
I think that mission alignment has been a real takeaway for me as well, and just how we're more alike than different with a lot of the organizations here present at the forum. So leaving definitely on a high about what we can do together for the populations we serve. So we're going to talk about a specific talent pool and group that's near and dear to your heart. So you're passionate about supports and services to young people, students with intellectual disabilities, specifically their opportunities in education, training, and workforce spaces. Will you tell us a little bit about your journey and how the work that InsideTrack is doing intersect?
Absolutely. So a little bit about me. I have been at InsideTrack for 14 years. And the reason that I stay is because I believe in the power of coaching and our mission. About halfway through my tenure at InsideTrack, I got married, I had a baby named Ernest, and Ernest was born in January 2015, and he is my why behind all of this. He was born with Down syndrome, and so I quickly learned, or tried to learn all that I could about those with intellectual disabilities and Down syndrome and how I could be a best support. What's interesting about a couple years later, I went to a conference called All Born In. Conferences carry weight for sure, and we learn a lot. And in that conference, there were two things that I walked away with. One was that the feeling of not belonging or being excluded actually in your brain sends off the same messages as if you were punched, hit, stubbed a toe. It is pain. That is what your brain is telling you. It's pain. And so in that moment, I vowed that I could do everything in my power so that my son feels like he belongs in any space. The second thing I learned is that there are opportunities for people with intellectual disabilities to go to college. And prior to that day, I didn't know it existed. And I think many of us still don't know that that's an opportunity in our country. So those opportunities started in 2010. There's been hundreds of students accessing these programs, but there's not a large awareness. And one of the other things that we've learned about this is that I'm talking about college and training, but it highly increases their likelihood to employment by going to college. And so just like anybody in our regular population, we know that higher ed leads to great employment. And that's, I want to create those opportunities for my son. What's interesting is how this all kind of comes together with InsideTrack. When I first found out about my son having Down syndrome, I actually had a hard time coming back to work. Not because of InsideTrack, but because of the industry. Higher education was built to be exclusive. That was the nature of how it came to be. And so for me, I just wanted to see how could I access more opportunities for my son, and seeing that those possibilities actually existed was really, really cool. But at InsideTrack, how it connects and how this work connects is that we believe in the power of coaching. Our values are very much aligned, and that we believe in human potential. We believe in equity, and we believe in the advancement of all learners. And that's all learners. That's not everybody that we're accustomed to serving. It is all. And so for me, that's key in our mission, and gives me a right to push these boundaries as we serve, students with disabilities or not.
It's wonderful to hear you share how those foundational values at InsideTrack really apply to everyone. And over the course of your life and your professional life, kind of what areas of that are most meaningful to you evolved, but still being able to come back to that core of equity and accessibility and opportunity for all learners. We're always able to contextualize in our personal spaces. So
Yep, absolutely.
that's really beautiful to hear how personal and professional motivation and interest are driving the work you're doing, and that InsideTrack is doing. You talked a little bit about kind of the current state, what opportunity exists for young adults and adults even with intellectual disabilities. So how are those groups currently accessing higher education in the workforce? What are the data and stats about the proportions and probability of individuals finding those opportunities?
Absolutely. It's a great question. And what's interesting right now is up until it was in 2010, the reauthorization of the Higher Education Act opened up more opportunities for people with intellectual disabilities. Prior to that, there weren't that many. As I said, it was built to be exclusive, our systems. But during that time, as I mentioned at the conference, I got in touch with an organization called Think College. And so they are the National Coordinating Center for people with intellectual disabilities pursuing higher education. So in 2008 reauthorization of Higher Education Act, when that happened, this National Coordinating Center was built. And their mission is really to create educational spaces for people with intellectual disabilities, to get out there like the possibilities of employment for people with intellectual disabilities. And one of the things in their earlier studies, so they've been running what they call TIPSID programs. So these are transition post-secondary programs for people with intellectual disabilities. It's a very long-winded statement, but the TIPSID programs began then, and there are TIPSID programs in almost every state in the country. I think there's a couple that we're still waiting on. I know my own Oregon only has one, and we need to improve that. But these educational opportunities became available in 2008 and have been going since then. So when there's little awareness to this, I'm like, this has been going on for a long time, and it's time that we really open these doors up and build awareness so that people can get on board. So I appreciate this opportunity today to talk more about this. But in one of their earlier studies, they found that people with intellectual disabilities that pursue higher education and got their degree were employed at 65% 1 year post-graduation, compared to like 13% of the general population with intellectual disabilities. So we know that getting a degree actually increases the opportunities for meaningful employment. And to see that happen 1 year after college, and to see this many people missing out on this opportunity really tells me there's a huge gap that we need to fill. There's hundreds, millions of people with intellectual disabilities in this country, and only a small portion are accessing higher education and employment. So there's a huge opportunity for us to serve these humans.
You mentioned a really important theme about awareness.
Yes.
That there are opportunities out there, that the data really reinforces that accessing education and training for all groups, but particularly individuals with intellectual disabilities, results in attachment to meaningful employment at really great rates. Along those same themes, the effects of connecting to meaningful work is widely studied. A lot of great research on the positive effects of that across a whole host of dynamics. What has InsideTrack found particularly powerful about the impact of connecting to meaningful work for individuals with intellectual disabilities?
So one of the things that we've learned through all of the research and studies with people with intellectual disabilities is that coaching, mentoring helps. And so that's a big piece with InsideTrack that I just see so much alignment, is that we know that having individualized support tailored to that individual, focused on trauma-informed approaches and healing-centered engagements, really helps advance all learners. And so we can do that with people with intellectual disabilities just as much, and I know that they benefit from it, and all of the research shows that as well. Another opportunity I see for the future is not just coaching the individuals that are pursuing higher education and training and work, but also coaching the employers. And because many of us don't have any experience, knowledge, expertise in supporting people with intellectual disabilities, and I see a lot of fear with that, fear of the unknown, fear how can I support them? I want to create diversity in my workforce, but I don't know that I know how to do that. So I see an opportunity for coaching that individual, but also coaching the employer to help them understand the power of inclusion with this population, and really help give one-on-one support to them in adjusting and adapting to what they might need. So, coaching.
We can all benefit from coaching,
Yes.
I think, no matter where we are on our career journey, or what our diversity, equity, inclusion landscape is. And you touched on this a little bit by speaking to the value of coaching on the employer side. You know, we're here at NOB, the Forum 2023, a lot of great representation from across the workforce system, across that ecosystem of organizations and providers really driving toward a similar mission. On that employer side, in the current labor market, where every business is trying to find untapped labor pools and talented, skilled work, how can we as a workforce system better support our employers, our business customers, in accessing the talent pool of individuals with intellectual disabilities? What would you add?
Yeah, one of the things is awareness. One of the things at InsideTrack that we focus on is change management for individuals and organizations. So it's really interesting if you think about applying that to this. You know, we know when individuals move through change, they need to start with awareness. If they don't have awareness, nothing's ever going to change. And so today, we're starting with awareness. And I think that's a key piece, is just understanding that there are millions of people out there without employment that have never been told that they deserve, or that they can, or that they belong here. And so this is an opportunity, one, to just create awareness with employers that there's this incredibly large untapped population that we haven't even given a chance. So awareness is key. And then we need to help them decide what's in it for them. Like
the value proposition.
Yeah, why would I do this? What's in it for me? And I think the key is there's so much, again, the awareness I think helps build this, is like people don't know what they don't know, and there is a fear. And so breaking down the why we're doing this, the opportunities that are available, maybe even seeing some shadowing places where it's working to see, how do you do this? How do you integrate it? A lot of the people that I listen to that have done integrated programs or inclusive programs in higher education institutions, every single person says their program has become better because of serving people with intellectual disabilities. Not worse, not worse off, they become better. It builds an organization full of empathy. It builds an organization that is willing to adapt to the individuals we serve, and that's what we do. That's what we're here to do. So once I see these doors opening, and I can see the opportunity for these individuals and for our organizations and our workforce boards, but that key is awareness, and we're building that as we talk today.
Really, really well said. I'm so glad that Ann was able to join us live at the Forum 2023. We hope everyone is having an amazing forum, and we'll look forward to our next interview.